Good afternoon, Jan.
Michael, good afternoon. It's Thursday again.
Thursday again. Goodness. Wasn't it just Thursday last week?
No, I look forward. I look forward to Thursday, but I had to finish the .NET implementation,
Ah,
and last week we said I,
yeah.
I, I should have finished it now, and the truth is, I even didn't have the time to look at it.
Ah, okay.
Um, yeah, but no, that's not the way it should be. That's not the way it should be. No, the good thing is I did some work in JavaScript,
Oh,
um,
okay. Interesting.
but that was commercial work.
Uh-huh.
No, it was half of JavaScript. It was something in some programming in Google Sheets,
hmm
uh, which are using JScript, which is actually JavaScript.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I think that used to be Microsoft's name for JavaScript, or at least their implementation of it uh, in Internet Explorer.
No, wait,
Huh.
Microsoft was using as a macro language in Excel. They were using VBA, which I've been using quite a lot for exports from my software,
Uh-huh.
which I export to Excel, and then I give them some routines. I give them some samples so that they can program themselves afterwards
hmm
and then progress their data in graphics. But the result is always that they come back. Can you make this? Can you make that?
Oh, yeah.
But so now that was the first time I discovered Google Sheets. Of course, I knew Google Sheets, but I never did
hmm
any macro programming or any behind the scene programming. And it's nice that it's actually JavaScript,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
which I like
I did
much
not.
more.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but at least because VBA from Microsoft is completely obsolete and
Right.
it comes
Yes.
from VB from long ago. Um, so actually, now I could use JavaScript, which I learned thanks to you. No, but it's
Okay. Well, that sounds like it was
yeah,
a fun little diversion.
yeah. I'm still busy with it. I've been working on it
hmm
like a crazy man. Um, no, needed to do some web scraping and get the data in Excel and so on and so on.
Oh yeah.
Um, the, 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 the purpose is to get data from a software package that is online, which has no API, to get it in Excel,
Mm.
then to have a tool that can be used for scheduling,
hmm
and then for the dispatching, you have to send notifications to the people which you have been scheduling. But so you can send an SMS with the with the schedule. That's the way to do it now, manually,
Uh-huh.
and that should go automatically from Excel. Um, but I
Wow.
hope that it will not just be an SMS, because then you're limited in length and so on. I hope to send an SMS with just a link,
Uh-huh.
and if they click on that link, then they will get to the web page, which is actually automatically created by Excel. And so automatically you will have a confirmation that the guy who needed to see the message has received the message.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange that all of this is running through Excel. That's the engine that they're using to to automate all of
It's
this.
Yeah, but it's because a few people need to access that spreadsheet.
hmm
So they know if you do it in Excel, it will be difficult to collaborate. But if you do it in Google, it's
Oh,
very easy
okay.
to collaborate. They can just go to their browser, go to Google Sheets. They will all see the same data. They can work in it more or less at the same time. It's not
hmm
historical modeling behind, but
Right.
Google Sync is not too bad. Um, and Google Sheets, they have a do post and do get method. I
Okay.
haven't looked in detail yet, but my idea is that they can generate somewhere a link in the Google domain. And if you send the get or post to that link, then in your spreadsheet, something will trigger, and so you can return a message, and you can write down that the message has been read by the guy who received the SMS. But
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So I interpret do post and do get as from the spreadsheet um, making an HTTP request out. Um, but yeah,
that
you're
was my
saying
first
that.
idea. That was my first idea also. But when I got further into the documentation, I think it's the inverse.
Wow.
I would
Huh.
first think that they would call it on post or on get.
Yeah.
But no, it was do post to get, and apparently because it's a service running on Google servers, so you can get an URL which points to your spreadsheet.
Okay. And so yeah, you're thinking that you can just SMS the link that you grab off of do get, and then
Yeah, yeah,
somebody
yeah,
can get the text, hit the link, see the spreadsheet.
and every individual user, you just give them, for example, a combination of event ID and user ID.
Oh, okay, right.
So then you know exactly which user is asking the message, and so then their browser will open and they will get a short notice with the message. But I hope next week I can let you know whether also that part works. But
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun because I never did any web scraping. So it was all a little bit new for me, looking at, okay, what are the technologies? How am I going to use it? Just a small project in between, but it's always too late.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. There was something called HTML something tool in uh, I can't even remember what language I was working in. It might have been C++, or it could have been early .NET. Um, maybe it was even Java. I'm not sure, but yeah, I do remember using something like that for web scraping, and it was it was a lot of work to get something actually working, and then it was yeah, it was yeah, a little bit brittle because if they change anything, then you have to basically redo it. But yeah, if you're web scraping a legacy application because it doesn't have an API, well then it's not very likely that the application is going to change. So
yeah, no, I started with Scrapy. It's called. It's a library, and that allowed me to analyze easily all the requests. And of course, I used what was the name already? Fiddler. I used Fiddler also, and I used just to and the debug console of Internet Explorer, the F12. That was useful. And once I had proven that it can work, then I just used the URL fetch within JavaScript to do the communication.
okay,
And
right,
then
yeah,
either there is a library which is called Cheerio, which allows you to select parts based on a CSS selector.
oh, okay, yeah, that sounds handy.
And for some things that was very handy, and in some cases I just used regular expressions.
Yeah,
The combination of the two, and that seems to work quite well for the moment.
yeah. I think back when I did it, this was before CSS was nearly as powerful as it is today, and so yeah, you couldn't really select a part of the document based on CSS. Yeah, that just became popular with jQuery, but um, but yeah, so it was based on the structure of the HTML. So it's like, okay, you had to have the HTML tag and then the body tag, and then there's going to be three divs, and then there's going to be a section. Well, that was before section, but so yeah, you knew exactly what structure to look for. If you were lucky, you had IDs, but usually the IDs were dynamically generated, so you couldn't rely on those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting. And if you see, okay, I got a part working, but still have to do some fine tuning.
Mm-hmm.
If you see the time that you gain with it, the efficiency. Well, before they had to go to all the pages and write down and fill in the whole spreadsheet manually. And now it's you press, you wait for a minute, and everything is filled up. The whole scheduling with all the disponibilities for the whole month.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that right there. That is the reason for doing this. So yeah, it sounds like yeah, kind of workarounds and hacks and getting stuff done, but then it's like value right there.
Yeah.
That solves a problem that somebody had to spend at least an hour, maybe 2-3 hours every month. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, completely
But
automated.
I think they spend more time than that on doing it manually.
Mm-hmm.
But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, how can we implement that in historical modeling?
Mm.
Um, of course, in this case, the spreadsheet, the Google Sheet spreadsheet as a user interface is very handy because they can do the dispatching from there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you have to replace all that with a fixed interface, yeah, then you really have to limit the problem and what they can do.
Yeah.
Um, but one day
Mm-hmm.
that might be the next step. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I think sooner than you might think, because um, the work that I'm doing for the replicators of service is it's helping me to exercise some of these patterns that I want to be able to talk about in kind of the next generation of guidance. So right now the
Mm,
guidance is focused on creating applications. So React web applications right now, React Native very soon, and then Maui
and
after that,
yeah.
and Blazor after that. But in order to build Replicator as a service, I'm uh, exercising some of the patterns that will be useful for microservices in Jinaga. So so I've got we've already kind of walked through a bit of the web application. Um, and so with that web application, whenever you say Java Server create, um, it's the next step there is for it to take an upstream replicator.
Yeah.
So whenever you create that Java Server instance, it's got its own database, but then also every fact that comes into it from from the user, from the front end, will go up to the upstream replicator. Um, and then that upstream replicator is going to be a central hub that you can connect several different replicators to, and so they're all it's upstream from all of them. So anything new that comes in to any of them, it's going to go into that central replicator.
Mm.
And then for the information to come back out, that is where each of the different replicators is going to give you a specification. Um, so it's going to subscribe to a specification, say, all right, central hub, this is
Mm.
the thing that I'm interested in. So if anything matching this specification happens, then just push it to me.
And that are in fact the specifications of the clients which are connected to that specific replicator.
Yeah, yeah, that's the
Okay.
yeah that way. That's I would say that's the default. That's where you would start. Um, so so like for example in the um, replicators of service, you would start with the specification that says I'm interested in all replicators and their names, replicators that have not been deleted. So you've got that specification, which is what's used on the front end. But if you then want to apply a little bit of of knowledge about how you're putting the system together, then you could make the assumption, all right, all replicators are created by an end user, and so therefore I don't need to subscribe to them. The user will have created them, and then you might say, okay, what does come from outside of the front end application? And in this case, that would be the the notification that the replicator is ready for the end user to use. So so user says, okay, create a replicator, give it a name. Here's the URL. But what I actually want to do is put an additional publish step in between. So it's like I'm setting things up, and then okay, I'm ready to actually make this go live. So go ahead and publish, and then that publish fact goes into the central hub. It goes out to something else from there that we'll talk about in a second, and then a confirmation comes back saying, okay, this is published. Maybe you don't even have the URL until the confirmation comes back. Maybe it's the thing in the back creates the URL. So so yeah, you could write the front end such that it only subscribes to that notification that that something else has finished its job.
But I don't really follow the publishing part.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you publishing? Is it to make data available through a URL for a third party, or?
It's really to make the URL live in the first place. So yeah, the way that the application is working right now, you create a replicator and it has a URL. The URL is not live yet because I don't have the backend pieces to make it so. But yeah, if you were to use that application as it is right now, you would just say, give me a new replicator. Boom! Now I've got the URL and I can start using it. But you might want to set up a few more things that aren't currently part of the application. So it's like, okay, and then let's configure authentication. So let's authenticate using Google, using Apple, and set those things up. And then once they're all set up, then you can say, okay, let's go ahead and publish. Or maybe it's even that I don't want to publish this URL until I have turned on authorization and distribution rules. So I've got all the security metrics in place. So just in case that URL gets out before you put those things in place, somebody could find that URL and start creating facts inside of your replicator, and you haven't set up your model, you haven't set up your rules, and then when you turn it on, there's all these facts in there already. So yeah, that gives you this two-step process, so you can make sure everything is all set up and then turn it on.
You create the replicator, and the last step is actually that you release the URL.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact of having the hub, the replicator, and then the hub is only a matter of scalability?
That is so that the thing that sets up the replicator can be outside of the application. So scalability is part of it. I would say it's really so that you can decouple your concerns within the application. So so what we've talked about so far is just the part that is responsible for the user interface, interacting with the end user, creating replicators, naming them, setting up their configurations. So that's the admin app. And then on the back end, imagine you've got an Azure function that whenever it sees, okay, I'm ready to publish a replicator, then it says, all right, let me go ahead and make a call to API management to allow this address to come through to the multi-tenant replicator, and insert some records into the multi-tenant replicator's database to say, all right, here is a replicator that should be active. and then also say things like, oh, uh, a this is a free um, this is at the free tier, so set the rate limits in API management so that it's good for development, but it's not good for production.
Yeah.
So so all those things would be handled by one or multiple functions on the back end, and those functions they would consider the hub to be an upstream replicator as well. So they would tell the hub, I'm interested in published replicators that do not yet have um, the API turned on. So
Okay.
so yeah, you just look for all those facts where not exists the confirmation, and
Mm.
then that's your queue, and you start working the queue. And, uh, setting up API management, setting up the database,
Mm.
and then when you've got that done, then you create that confirmation fact, and that flows back into the central hub, which then, because of the subscription, flows back to the user interface.
Actually, it's the perfect example of eat your own dog food.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Historical modeling on multiple levels.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to practice these patterns.
Mm.
Get them right, get them supported within the library, and then I can start publishing guidance. So in addition to this guidance for how to build a web application or to build a mobile application, here's guidance on how to build a microservices application or service-oriented application, whichever way you want to think about it.
Mm.
But yeah, a decoupled distributed set of functions.
Okay, that's going to be fascinating to see that working.
Yeah, yeah. I'm having fun building it.
Mm.
And so yeah, tying it back to the example that you were just talking about, I could see having a function that is looking for it's looking for a month that you need to grab information about. So so there's a scheduler that every month creates a new fact. So you've got the period pattern kind of started from the beginning, and then that one picks it up and says, okay, let's go ahead and do the screen scraping, get that information, collect a bunch of facts, and go ahead and add those. And then those flow to whomever is concerned with those, and then um, yeah, it says, okay, we need to actually run the scheduler uh, algorithm. So that's another function that's doing that, publishing back the schedule. Then there's something else that's subscribed to that and saying, okay, this person is on the schedule, so they need a notification. So let's create a page and send the notification, and then publish a fact that says that I've finished that part. And then you've got this workflow of all the facts, kind of outlining the work that has been accomplished, and so you can kind of see what's been done, and then all these individual pieces are doing those things, and they're each decoupled so that if at some point, okay, we've actually published an API, all right, let's replace that screen scraping function with an API function.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just turn on the machine and let it go.
Yeah, and then you have a new model which will create facts from the API and not from the screen scraping.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, fun stuff.
Good. Did you got any further with the replicators this week?
This week has been pretty busy. So I do have some news. I have talked with Carl Franklin and Richard Campbell from the .NET Rex podcast.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
so I will be on the episode that drops on December 18th.
That's still a long.
Yeah,
That's still a long way from now.
Yeah, but that gives me enough time to put together a reading guide. I've had this on my to-do list for a little while for the book. So So yeah, people should be able to go out to immutablearchitecture.com. In addition to seeing information about the book and about this Discord, um, they should be able to download a reading guide so they could read it as a book study or as an individual. Have have little questions or exercises to do with each of the chapters.
Okay.
So
Because with Carl Franklin, it's a recording you make, but there you will talk about the book guide that you're developing.
Well, so we've already recorded the episode, and I didn't mention the book guide. I'm not certain that it's going to be ready, but I did point people to immutablearchitecture.com. So
Okay.
yeah, people listen, they go there, then they can start that journey.
But it's already recorded now for the 18th of December.
Yeah, they like to get things in the queue ahead of publication.
Okay. He hopes to go on a very long holiday.
They travel quite a bit. They go to a lot of conferences. So usually when they go to a conference, they will schedule interviews with a number of the conference presenters. So in the course of a day or two there, they'll put 6 or 7 episodes in the can. And then a bunch of travel, set up, do something else. So gather a whole bunch of others. So they've got a bunch of travel coming up soon. So they and in fact, I believe the MVP Summit is coming up soon, and they're both part of that community. So they'll be going out to Seattle, and usually when they're there, they can talk with with folks at Microsoft about what's happening in the .NET space. But yeah, that's going to be a lot of time that is maybe not show worthy. So they might not produce a lot of shows during that time. So put a whole bunch in the backlog, and then they can release them and still have a regular cadence.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is going to be. It was a fun episode. We didn't get very deep at all. It was all just very, very surface level. Very conversational. I threw out some things there that will make people go, huh? But yeah, not getting down into, well, what is a CRDT, and what are the operations that you have to be able to prove, and how does a directed acyclic graph implement those operations? I just kind of said, well, there's some mathematicians that did a thing, and then hey, here's some examples. So kind of the theme that I was trying to stick to is just what is the umbrella term immutable architecture? What does that mean? And then give some examples. So a lot of times when I start talking about historical modeling, if I just start there, people say, oh, that sounds like event sourcing. And then I have to kind of take a step back and say, it does, but it's different, and here's how. And so I noticed, hey, with this term immutable architecture, if I take a look at chapter 2, it says, well, here are some immutable architectures. So it talks about event sourcing, talks about blockchain, talks about Git, and then there's this other one, historical modeling. So yeah, I kind of kept the conversation at that level.
Yeah, that gives people directly a good idea of what are practical implementations.
Yeah. Yeah, we were able to get into just a little bit of, well, how do you do this thing? So analysis, here's how you can analyze a problem. And then implementation, hey, foreign keys are kind of like those predecessor relationships. So just use a SQL database. And then we did We did talk a great deal about Jinaga and the vision of Jinaga, but didn't get down into, well, what does that actually look like and how does it work? It was like,
Mm.
oh, Jinaga, magical thing, um, based on math. It's not magic, and um, so
Yeah, but
yeah.
that's a good thing. If they want to know, they can follow
Hmm.
these sessions.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
on the 18th of December. They have all Christmas and New Year's time to catch up the old videos.
Yeah. Oh, did I say December? I'm sorry. It's not December. It's May.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Wow.
No,
Okay. Quite a difference there. Yes.
that's why I thought 18 December, and they already recorded it now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I
No,
misspoke.
no, 18 of May. Okay, then it's time to start recording.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's time to start creating that guide.
Yeah, um, and that guide would be material that you find left and right about historical modeling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of funny. I just recently uh, had a another online conversation with somebody. So basically doing my
Mm.
networking. You know, linked up with somebody, and they and I wanted to give them an example of how how historical modeling would solve a particular problem, and so I went looking for just a link that I could send them that has a diagram and kind of explains the diagram, and yeah, I think this is something that you pointed out when we first met, is that yeah, that this information is just kind of everywhere, but it's not in a in a cohesive place. And so it's like, wow, I finally found um, the uh, the work item tracker example from historicalmodeling.com. Um, and and the last I updated that one was in 2017. So I said, well, here's a link to a diagram. It kind of explains the objects in the diagram, um, and walk through it. But it's like, yeah, we uh, this needs a more comprehensive online treatment. Somebody shouldn't have to buy the book and spend several weeks going through that before they get this material. They should be able to just go straight to something that
Mm.
satisfies that little bit of curiosity and opens up a whole bunch of new questions.
Yeah, but it's because a long time ago you were working on a new website which collected a little bit information from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember because you put in old videos in it. Um,
Yeah, yeah. So that's
I don't.
michaelperry.net.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
so I have
did
that put together, and that is the videos from YouTube where I'm
mm,
kind of building up the historical modeling story. Um, the Pluralsight courses, whether they have to do with historical modeling or not, um, and uh, and
mm,
videos of my talks. So and then a page about the book as well. So so that is really an about me website. I mean, it's right there in
yeah,
the name. Um, So if you were to go there to learn about historical modeling, you would have to watch a bunch of videos. I mean, they're short videos, um, but yeah, in this case, I wanted to send a link to
mm,
an article with a picture, so you can say, okay, let me add a little bit more text and talk about how this picture relates to what we were just talking about, rather than here, watch this video.
by the way, michaellperry.net is not online.
It's just michaelperry.net. Yeah.
Perry?
Although I hadn't
No.
checked to see if michaellperry.net is available. Maybe I should
Oh, it's the
do that real quick.
okay. It's the www before that. It's not. If you just take
Hmm.
michaelperry.net, it works. If you take www.michaelperry,
Ah,
it doesn't work. So
Yeah. I've never been able to figure out Apex domains.
okay. That's also a nice overview of it's through courses and lessons and talks. It's really about what you are doing, but
Mm-hmm.
the the main thing is historical modeling. So
Yeah. Yeah. And if this comes back, then I will have michaellperry.net. Yay! michaellperry.net successfully registered. Okay.
and that one is also not working.
I just registered it, so I'll.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
it's not on this side. It's not. You just registered the URL, the domain
yeah,
name.
yeah. I'll set it up as an
Yeah.
alias for michaelperry.net soon.
Okay.
Because yeah, I've worked so hard to put the name Michael L. Perry out there, and then
Yeah.
michaelperry.net was available. It's like sold, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, somebody was actually just emailing all the Michael Perrys and saying, "Hey, I've got this domain," and I'm like me.
Mm,
And then as soon as I bought it and I started to yeah, I at first just made it redirect to qedcode.com.
mm,
But then as soon as I did that, I got messages from the other Michael Perrys say, "Hey, I'd like to buy that." So, the guy who owned it was just trying to sell it.
mm.
So sorry.
Yeah. Once somebody wants it, everybody wants it.
Yeah.
No, but it's good that you took Michael L. Perry also.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who would take that domain name, who would reserve it, but the fact that you use it all the time, Michael L. Perry, to make the difference, you might as well reserve the domain name.
Yeah. Yeah.
If,
Yeah.
yeah.
And michaelperry.com, the last time I checked, was was a voice actor who pronounces his name Michael Perry, but he spells it differently. But yet he's got my spelling as his domain name.
Okay. And then there was historicalmodeling.com,
Yes.
and yeah, that one also gives a nice introduction, but the rest is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Jinaga.com, and that's the good documentation.
Yeah. Which is now dated because in Jinaga.js, I've got a new
Yeah.
specification mechanism. But how do you keep all this stuff
Yeah,
up?
but it's already so many revisions through the docs. Yeah, but okay. At least there is some documentation, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing the revised version of the documentation. Rewrite all of these examples that are using template functions, and turn them into the Fluent specification syntax.
Yeah. Then it's finished with the syntax diagrams.
Yeah.
They will
It's
be
like,
obsolete
yeah,
as well.
get those out of there. Yeah.
No, but that might return for something else.
Yeah.
That was a nice project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think we might want to do a syntax diagram kind of thing for uh, the the Fluent specification syntax. Um, if they are using something that will expose the types. So if they're programming in TypeScript, or even if they're programming in JavaScript, but they're using Visual Studio Code, they will get that type help while they uh, while they create their specifications. And that's that's a great step while you're in the code writing those things. But then to be able to have that open to the side and know, all right, if I say dot join, that's going to take me down this path here where I need to do a facts of type inside of there, and then that'll get me to the next place.
It'd be something interesting because I still have trouble sometimes if I see specifications in the documentation. I see, okay, what form was that? What form was that?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
especially if you switch between JavaScript and then .NET and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which which brings up another bit of documentation that I want to write. So the experience that I've had with GitHub Copilot is that if I've written a little bit of Jinaga, then when I give it a goal, like declare a function or just declare a variable name that kind of describes a goal, then it can generate a specification that matches the model that I've already written and satisfies the goal and is a correct specification. I mean, it's so like show me the courses that have not been deleted, and the names of those courses. Oh, okay, there you go.
mm,
So GPT-4 has an API, and
yeah,
so you can subscribe to be able to hit that API, and so part of that API is you give it some tokens, you give it some a bit of text to start with, and then you can give it the rest of the prompt. So so what if I take some example Jinaga specifications in JavaScript and I turn those into tokens, and then somebody comes up to the site and says, "Hey, I'd like a specification that does this." Run it through to output. Okay, here you go, and then the same thing, with the .NET examples in
mm,
and pass that through, and so now you can just flip back and forth. Oh, let me see that in .NET. Let me see that in JavaScript. So somebody will be able to come up to the site, describe the problem that they want, grab some code, and then stick that into their IDE.
and you think the correctness will be good enough?
I think so. Yeah, with the with when I give it enough examples, it starts to generate correct specifications. When it has no examples to start with, just start a brand new project.
Mm,
And then it makes a guess at, oh, let me come up with a SQL-like language that that might describe what you mean, and say, yeah, that's a cool language, but that's not Jinaga. So
mm,
with just a few examples, then it can do a bunch of stuff. So I've noticed that if I need to give it the mutable property pattern, I need to give it the delete restore pattern,
yeah.
and then from there it can infer quite a bit of what you want to do. If I also feed it a workflow example, I think that somebody would be able to write a prompt that says, give me a system that when somebody orders places an order, then I can write an invoice for it. So then it can say, oh,
Mm,
that looks like a workflow. Let me put those facts together.
mm.
So I think that's doable.
Okay. Combination of historical modeling with artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the some of the things that I tried with ChatGPT. So this was 3.5. I when I was first getting the Replicator as a Service project started, I said I need a login screen. I don't want to write HTML and CSS, but
Mm,
this has to be the OpenID Connect redirect kind of stuff. So it's like it doesn't make sense to do this in React. So let me just generate some HTML CSS. So hey, ChatGPT, give me a login screen. Here you go. A bunch of HTML with some inline CSS. So, hey, it looks about right. I factored it out so that it was separate CSS from HTML and
mm,
nice and clean. But yeah, just it did the right thing there. So yeah, the examples that I'm seeing online these days
Mhm.
are even more impressive. It's like yeah, 2 minute papers is one of my favorite YouTube videos or YouTube channels, and Dr. Carajone, if I hear something like that,
Mhm.
uh, he showed an example recently about you generate uh, a, a welcome screen for a dog walking app, and then it generated a picture of an iPhone with like here's a picture of a dog and here's some text and here's create an account button. Um, so it can do the design, and I've seen other examples of given a design generate the code. So I
Okay.
think do starting from here, you teach it here's the foundation of Jinaga, and then it's already learned somehow the how to write swing apps and how to
Mhm.
swing, yeah, um, and uh, and how to uh, basically how to create HTML and CSS um, and mobile apps, and so with that extra context, then yeah, I think that we're not too far away from somebody being able to use a tool. Maybe it's a website, maybe it's something a little bit richer, maybe it's something that plugs into VS Code, or maybe it's a standalone uh, desktop experience that then hooks directly to Git, and you can just check your code in from there. But it then describes what they want. It generates the user interface, generates the Jinaga model and the Jinaga specification, wires them together, and says, okay, now you've got a working app that does the thing you just described.
Hmm.
Um, and I think Jinaga is an important piece of that because uh, these things are still pretty narrow in their context. That's about as much information as it can keep in its brain at any given time. Um, so the way that we typically write applications, um, each new page still has to know about the other pages in some way. So at the very least, they need to know how to navigate to them. But usually, they're sharing state, and you have to call this API and then store it here so that
Mhm.
that page can read it in, and then we want to cache that information. So we'll have a separate storage area that is used by these two pages. Um,
Mhm.
so you end up doing these things that kind of couple things together. But with Janaga having a separate specification that's just for this page, and then having it generate the inverses. So when this thing happens, then that changes and the page updates. Then when you go to another page, you've got the same model but now a different specification. You do a thing, then Janaga's figuring out what actions on this page cause changes to that page and vice versa. So you can keep just one page at a time in memory, and it will still generate a correctly behaving application. So yeah,
Okay. And
I think that future is possible.
that would be amazing and at the same time scaring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've said all along that I want somebody that's got skills in
Mhm.
Excel to be able to build their own application. This actually even broadens it a bit more. You don't have to have skills in Excel, but you do have to have enough skills to iterate on a problem and to clearly describe what it is that you want. Because it's still not magic. It's still just the information that you give it turned into a different form. But yeah, if you keep that form as concise as possible, then the machine can give you that assistance.
Yeah, but the advantage is perhaps that you can go very fast through iterations.
Mm-hmm.
Generate something, you try it out, you say, I forgot to mention that, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
Additional input, generate again. Okay, we are almost there.
yeah,
Uh, what if you have to do it manually? Every iteration takes a lot of time.
yeah, yeah. And so that's where I'm kind of thinking, what is the form of this thing? If it's a fully standalone downloaded application, then it could be basically be um, kind of a shell around something like Expo. So in React Native, you write your
Mm-hmm.
application, and then Expo runs uh, the React Native uh, local bundler that's called Metro, um, and it does it in such a way that that the native code is already installed on your application. You install the native code from the App Store, but then Expo takes the Metro bundler and creates a bundle that then goes into that application. So basically, you run this thing, it shows a QR code, you scan it with your phone, and now your application is running on your phone. As you make changes, it updates on your phone in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all over your local network. That doesn't go back, make round trips through the Apple App Store or anything. So yeah, imagine that somebody downloads this thing and it's really just running Expo in the background. They scan it with their phone, and now they're starting to do this iteration, describe what they want, and the app on their phone updates as they're going through this. And then they say, "Yep, that's good. All right, create a commit, push that
Mm-hmm.
off."
Yet we will have to look for another job.
I don't think that these tools are going to demand less of us. They're going to demand more of
Mm.
us. I mean,
I think.
it's just like
Mm.
assembly programming. You don't see very many developers doing assembly programming anymore. But it's not that
Mm.
we need fewer programmers because we've got compilers. We need more.
Yeah. It became easier to program
Mm-hmm.
in a certain way, but in another way, we make things which are so much more powerful and so much more complex these days
Mm-hmm.
um, that in the end you have to program more.
Yeah.
You need more people and you have to program more.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, somebody
Mm.
right these days or today, somebody can come to me and say, "I've got this app idea. How's it? How much is it going to take?" And even for the very simplest app idea, the lowest I could possibly bid would be something like $30,000. Um,
Mm.
and well, it's just a simple app. It's a to do list. I'm making this for myself. Why do I need to spend all that much money?
Mm.
Um, so yeah, for that kind of app idea, here, just use this. Describe the app to the thing. It generates it. You're off and you're going. But then, as soon as you say, well, you know what, this, I need this to run this complicated scheduling, algorithm. I need it to figure something out. Actually, I think an AI could generate a good scheduling algorithm. It was trained on enough examples, I think. But yeah, it starts to get complicated, and they say, okay, well now I need it to go to this website and download this information. Well, this information is just
Mm.
on the web page. So, um, yeah, so I think it gets to the point where where this simple AI tool starts to uh, to meet the rough edges, and then they'll have to say, "Well, I've got
Mm.
this application started. Can you finish it up for me?" And yeah, so the application that they've got started is backed by a Git repository that has this AI generated code in it. So you can see what
Mm.
the model is. You can see the specifications. You can see the the Maui code or the HTML code or the
Mm.
React or whatever, and it's not bad code to start with, as opposed to like these
Mm.
code generators of the past, which somebody thought of. I need to generate this template and then shove data into that template, and so you generate this mess of the same shape over and over again, just with different words in it. AI generated code is much more thoughtful than that.
Mm.
It's still not human generated code, but it's something you can start with and you can work with. So yeah, I think that handoff between, I did this myself using a tool to now here take this over for me and turned it into a full blown application. I think that handoff is easier.
Yeah, let's see where it gets.
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, that's where my brain is these days.
There are still a lot of challenges,
Mm-hmm.
luckily. Luckily.
Yes.
But they are making enormous progress now with artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I
and
think so. We were just having a discussion at work in the team room, and one of my collaborators said, um, I'm saying this kind of as a joke, but maybe it's not so much a joke. We need, and this is the architecture group that's getting together. We need the development team to you to bang out these these things following this pattern. Maybe we give that to ChatGPT. So I was like, you know what? I've actually been using GitHub Copilot for what has it been a year now? I think it's probably been a year since I started
yeah.
using it, and it's like it really is an accelerator. So let's give that kind of thing some serious thought.
Mm. Great. Yeah, for the rest of the programming,
Mm-hmm.
because I will on the coming week I will still be busy a little bit with
Mm-hmm.
not a web scraping portion that is going fine, but the sending of the messages, the SMS, will take still some time,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope I can finish that in a couple of days, and then go back to historical modeling a little bit. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and I hope that by this time next week, I've got a at least a barely working multi-tenant replicator. So so one application, but it responds to several different URLs and isolates um, those facts from one another.
mm,
Um, so yeah, let's see how
and
far we
then
get.
everybody will have his own URL then, or
Yeah, yeah. So you'll get
okay.
your own URL, but it'll just be one multi-tenant replicator that's running all the
Mm,
URLs. Yeah, and so
okay, so it's
all the facts are stored in one database, but they've got an
yeah,
extra tenant ID that keeps them separate from one another.
mm, yeah. So it looks like a black box. Uh, it looks like multiple replicators,
Yep,
just one with a single database. Okay.
yep, yep. Because otherwise, it would just be far too expensive to deploy a new one, and I wouldn't be able to,
Mm,
to give them away free for development and then charge a reasonable price for production. It would have to be like, all right, $150 a month. There you go. It's like, whoa,
mm,
yeah, that's what it costs right now to host a fully featured application in the cloud. It's about $150.
mm-hmm. No, and it will not get cheaper, I think.
No, no, I don't think so. Yeah,
Mm,
not without doing these multi-tenant things where software as a service model. Somebody has built the multi-tenant thing and then is giving you your own slice of it.
mm. The hardware is not getting cheaper, and the energy is not getting cheaper. So,
Right.
and there is this inflation thing, so prices go up. Okay,
Yeah.
I think it's almost 4
Yes, it
p.m. here.
is. Yeah.
I think I go back to web scraping and SMS. Yeah, and
Very
then
good.
see you next week for a little bit more .NET things.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, good luck with
Okay,
that.
Michael, see you next week.
Yes. See you then. Thanks, Jan.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.